Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's webinar. We are going to be talking about the Panhellenic sorority recruitment experience here at Miami University. So if you're tuning in, you're probably a parent or a family member who has a student that's interested in going through sorority recruitment. I hope to go over some logistics of the recruitment process, requirements, and what the process looks like for your student. My name is Alyssa Ciengo. I serve as one of the associate directors in the Cliff Alexander Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life. I do primarily advise the Panhellenic Association, so that means that I help to plan and execute the primary recruitment experience for Panhellenic. So to get started, we are going to talk about the Miami fraternity and sorority community as a whole. So we are a pretty large community. We have over 5,000 students in fraternity and sorority life across 53 different chapters. We do have 4 councils here on campus. So our campus is about 30% Greek here at Miami. And like I said, we have 4 councils here on campus, the Panhellenic Association being one of them. We'll talk more about Panhellenic today, and we do have 17 chapters in our association. Panhellenic is comprised of our social sororities on campus. We also have the Inner Fraternity Council, or IFC. This is comprised of 26 all men's social fraternities on campus. We have our Multicultural Greek Council. This is our newest council. They were established in the fall of 2021. They have 4 organizations within their council. Then we have the National Panhellenic Council, or NPHC. This is comprised of the historically Black Greek letter organizations. We have 4 sororities in this council and 2 fraternities. And so while we are just going to be focusing on the Panhellenic Association today, there will be other webinars for interfraternity recruitment and NGC and NPHC culturally based recruitment and intake processes as well. So for right now, for today, we're going to focus on the Panhellenic Association recruitment process. Now, in the Panhellenic Association, as I mentioned, we do have 17 different chapters, all of which are currently recognized by the university and their headquarters. So when your student joins the Panhellenic Association, they will be joining one of these 17 groups. You can find a full list of our chapters on our website as well. You can also see on our website any groups that are unrecognized by the university from all 4 of our different councils. If a group chooses to exist off campus, that means they're not following university policies, regulations, they are not overseen by our office, and they're not permitted to use university facilities, for example, or have any privileges associated with being a student organization. So when your student joins the fraternity and sorority community here at Miami University, you want to make sure that they're joining a registered and recognized group with the university. And as I mentioned, all 17 of these Panhellenic chapters are recognized by the local Panhellenic Association and the university. Now, before we get into the logistics of recruitment, we do want to talk through the requirements and policies that your student has to meet in order to be allowed to go through the primary recruitment process. And so there are a few things that they need to do or meet in order to be eligible to go through the process. First and foremost, they do need to complete 1 full-time fall or spring semester at Miami or another institution. First-year students are not allowed to join a social fraternity and sorority in their first semester. So they do need to have a full semester under their belts. We do have a 12 credit hour policy as well. So they do need to have a minimum of 12 credit hours in order to go through the process. And then we do have a strict 2.5 cumulative GPA requirement. So that is a requirement per the university. So that is the minimum to go through Panhellenic recruitment. However, it is important to mention that many Panhellenic chapters do have a higher GPA requirement than just a 2.5, but they will be considered eligible through our office so long as they hit a 2.5 GPA. Now, the other thing that we want to make sure to emphasize to you all as parents and family members is we do not accept J-term grades to be considered for recruitment eligibility. So what that means is if your student is interested in going through the primary recruitment process and they're a first-year student, only their fall 2024 semester grades are going to count towards their eligibility. If your student is a sophomore and above, we will consider their cumulative GPA through the fall 2024 semester. We will not accept J-term grades in order for students to be eligible for recruitment. If they are not eligible after the fall 2024 semester, they will not be eligible to go through this primary recruitment process. Very important that you and your student do understand that. Additionally, outside of the GPA requirement and the credit hour requirement, there are a few additional steps that students will take in order to be eligible to go through our process. First, they will do a few educational modules online. One is a hazing prevention course, which we'll talk about in a second, and the other is a fraternity and sorority life 101 course. One is on Canvas, and the other is through a third-party platform called Vector Solutions. When your student registers for the Panhellenic recruitment process, they will be manually added to these two courses. Those courses do need to be completed prior to the start of recruitment. Now, your student also needs to register for the Panhellenic recruitment process. They need to register by January 3rd. We use a platform called Campus Director, and they can find links to the registration page on Panhellenic's website or on the Cliff Office website. During the registration process, they will give us some basic information about themselves. They will also answer a few short essay questions. They will upload a resume as well. So it does take a little bit of time, so make sure that your student does understand that. And in order to be fully registered, they do need to pay a $75 registration fee. This fee goes towards costs associated with executing the primary recruitment process, and your student will get a t-shirt to wear during a portion of the process as well. So in order for that registration to go through, they do need to submit the $75 registration fee. Now, with all of these requirements, our office does check for eligibility prior to the recruitment experience, and your student will receive an email whether or not they are eligible. So once your student registers, we will check for their eligibility after registration closes, and they will receive an email from our office. That email will either say that they are eligible to participate in the process or that they are not eligible to participate in the process. If they are not eligible to participate in the process, maybe because of the GPA requirement or the credit hour requirement, they could potentially become eligible for other joining opportunities either later that spring semester or in the fall semester should their GPA increase. Those would be through our informal recruitment opportunities. And our same requirements do apply for our informal recruitment process as well, such as the 2.5 GPA requirement and the 12 college credit requirement as well. Now, before we get into the actual process of recruitment, we also want to mention Collins Law and hazing prevention and reporting. So some of you may know that Collins Law is the anti-hazing legislation that was passed in Ohio in the fall of 2021. The university has a no tolerance policy for hazing. So hazing does violate Miami policy and Ohio state law. Additionally, part of that law and part of our policies states that failing to report or intervening for hazing can also constitute a violation. So when any student joins Miami's campus, they will go through a hazing prevention training. That's all students here at Miami. So they go through a hazing prevention training as soon as they become a student in the summer prior to arriving in the fall. If they are going through the fraternity and sorority recruitment experience, they will do a second hazing prevention and education course, which I mentioned previously, through our third-party platform called Vector Solutions. So by the time your student goes through the primary recruitment process, they will have done 2 hazing prevention and education courses. We do recommend that you check out our hazing prevention education and reporting webpage as well. The QR code that is on this slide will link you to that page, just so that you can educate yourself about what the policy and current law states about hazing prevention and reporting. We also do quite a bit of education, not only for our potential new members that are going through the recruitment process, but we also do a lot of education for our current chapter members that will be helping your student through their new member experience after they join. So lots of education happens here on campus, and should you want to learn more about these policies, please feel free to visit our webpage via that QR code. Now, we are going to talk about logistics of primary recruitment in the spring, but I do want to make sure that we go over some terminology before we do that. I recognize that some parents and families might not be familiar with the fraternity and sorority recruitment process or just membership process in general. So as I'm throwing out terms, I want to make sure that you are aware of what those terms mean. So first and foremost, I've already thrown this out a few times, but potential new member, or we call PNM, that is anybody that is going through the recruitment experience. So they are considered a potential new member until they formally join. In order to formally join, they need to be offered what we call a bid. And a bid is a formal invitation from a chapter to become a new member of that chapter. To affiliate is the formal term for joining a chapter. Should at any point a student wants to terminate that membership, we call that resigning or resign their membership. And then, as I mentioned, after they join a chapter and have been offered a bid, should they accept that bid, they become a new member. There is a process for new membership prior to the initiation period. Now, these are some recruitment specific terms. One is a ROGAMA. So a ROGAMA is going to be a recruitment counselor, which will help your student go through the recruitment process. A ROGAMA is a current member of a Panhellenic chapter who has gone through the recruitment process as a potential new member herself. So she is really there, as it says, as a guide to help your student through the process, because we know it can often be stressful, sometimes it's confusing, and so we make sure that every student is equipped with a ROGAMA for that hands-on direct support for your students. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about mutual selection later, but the Panhellenic recruitment process is a mutual selection process. So this means that both the potential new members and the chapters get to decide which chapter they want to join or which potential new members they offer bids to. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Prior to the end of recruitment, before we get to bid day, your student may sign what we call an MRABA. This stands for the Membership Recruitment Acceptance Binding Agreement. This is a legally binding document that a potential new member will complete prior to submitting her final preferences going into bid day. We explain this whole process to your student before they officially sign, but it is important that you and your student know that they will be signing this document should they choose to join a Panhellenic sorority. Now, the final day of Panhellenic recruitment is called bid day. This is the day that potential new members do receive their official bid or invitation to join a chapter. And then finally, we have continuous open bidding. This is often called informal recruitment as well. This is the period in the fall semester or in the spring semester directly after primary recruitment that chapters can informally recruit potential new members into their chapter. There's no registration for informal recruitment. There's not a set schedule for informal recruitment. This is a great option for many students should they choose to go through informal recruitment instead of primary recruitment. Now, the only caveat to COB or informal recruitment is that not every chapter will be eligible to participate in informal recruitment based on how many women they currently have in their chapter. So every semester, the chapters that participate in informal recruitment does fluctuate, and that information can always be found on our website. So let's get into the actual logistics of Panhellenic recruitment with this timeline. So Panhellenic recruitment here at Miami does occur over 2 weekends. It will begin during the first week of classes when we are back to school in the spring. So the first date of primary recruitment is Thursday, January 30th. This is our kickoff event. So at this event, your student will come to the Armstrong Pavilion. She will check in, she will get her name tag, and she will listen to a presentation from the Panhellenic Association teaching her all that she needs to know about the upcoming process. She will also meet members of our Panhellenic recruitment team, and she will also meet her ROGAMAs or recruitment counselors that evening. So really is just a kickoff to recruitment. She will not be meeting any chapters that evening. Now, I know students always ask what to wear for our recruitment rounds. Kickoff is a casual round, so they can wear whatever they are comfortable in that evening. Now, Friday, January 31st, the next day, is our welcome round. For our welcome round here at Miami, we do what we call a virtual welcome round. So our potential new members will be virtually meeting our chapters through videos that our chapters will create for them. So during this round, your student will be with her Rho Gamma group, and her Rho Gammas will show her the chapter videos. Now, this isn't required, but it is highly encouraged for your student to also submit an introduction video to the Panhellenic Association. This allows the Panhellenic Association to share that video with our chapters, so our chapters can virtually meet your student as well. So after welcome round is when she will make her first selections of preferences for chapters for the next round. And again, when we talk about mutual selection a little bit later, I'll explain more about that process. For welcome round, it's also very casual because she's not meeting any chapters in person quite yet. She is more than welcome to wear whatever she is comfortable in that evening. Now, the first time that students will formally meet our chapters will be on Saturday and Sunday, February 1st and 2nd. We call this the philanthropy round. So during this round, our chapters will talk to our potential new members more about their philanthropic and service efforts here on campus. So it's a really great way for your student to also talk through what they might have been engaged in high school or have started to be engaged in college when it comes to philanthropy and service efforts. This round is when your student will wear the provided t-shirt that Panhellenic will provide to her, and whatever bottom she feels comfortable in. The name of the game here for what to wear is whatever your student is the most comfortable in. During this round, our chapters will also be in t-shirts and most likely jeans and sneakers, so that round is also a little bit more casual. Now we follow with the next weekend, Thursday, February 6th and Friday, February 7th. This is what we considered our sisterhood round. So this round is a little bit longer than philanthropy round. And during this round, your student will learn more about what makes each chapter unique. They're going to talk about their sisterhood, what they do for sisterhood events, and they will also learn about the chapter's values during this round. This round is a little bit more elevated when it comes to what to wear. We tell students, again, wear what you're comfortable in, but we give them a guideline of snappy casual. Chapter members may be in slacks and a blouse, or a skirt, or jeans and a blouse, and sneakers, maybe a heel. It really just depends on whatever your student feels the most comfortable in. Keep in mind that recruitment is obviously in February, so it is going to be rather cold. We always encourage them to bring sweatpants and comfortable shoes and a jacket in order to get to one chapter to the next during recruitment. They will certainly have time to change their shoes if they need to. So that is our sisterhood round on Thursday and Friday, February 6th and 7th. As they go throughout the process, they will visit less and less chapters. So by Saturday, February 8th, that is what we call our preference round. For preference round, they can visit a maximum of 2 chapters. For preference round, that is our longest round of recruitment, and it is the most formal. So chapter members this day are most likely wearing either a dress or a pantsuit or skirts and a nice blouse. This is the day in which chapters will show students more about what ritual means to them, and again, what makes their chapter unique. So that happens on preference. After preference is when your student will sign the MRABA that I talked about earlier. After they visit their last chapter, they will come to a meeting hosted by the Panhellenic Association, where we will teach them all about the MRABA and next steps for how to get that signed. And finally, the best day of sorority recruitment is bid day, which will happen on Sunday, February 9th. This is the day in which they would get their formal offer or invitation to join one of our chapters here on campus. Bid day is also relatively casual. They will receive a t-shirt from their new chapter, and most people choose to wear leggings, jeans, again, somewhat casual for bid day. Now, I've talked about the mutual selection process a little bit. I want to break that down for what that means in practice. So as I said, P&Ms do have the opportunity to decide what chapter they join, and the chapters have an opportunity to decide which potential new members they want to ask back during each round of recruitment. So that's where the mutual selection comes in. After each round of Panhellenic recruitment, potential new members will submit their preferences to Panhellenic for which chapters they would most like to go back to. With the caveat being, and this is really important, that it is not guaranteed that a potential new member will be asked back to a chapter that they had preferenced. Really important for students to know that, and also to not get discouraged by that. So during recruitment for each round, there's a maximum number of chapters that a potential new member can attend for each round. For philanthropy, it's 11 chapters max. For the sisterhood round, they can visit 7 chapters max. And like I mentioned, for preference, it's 2 chapters max. If your student does not get the maximum number of chapters each round, that is okay. It again is okay if she is not getting the maximum, and even if she is not getting the maximum, she still could potentially join at the end of the recruitment process. So we want to make sure that students are not getting discouraged by not having the full maximum. It is okay, and many potential new members will not have the maximum number of chapters, and that's okay. Unfortunately, an invitation to join a chapter at the end of recruitment is not guaranteed. So this is why we encourage potential new members to keep an open mind about all of the chapters on campus. We did have some get to know you fall events for our Panhellenic chapters for potential new members to come meet our chapters. And again, once they start the primary recruitment process, we encourage them to have an open mind for all of our chapters. The more of an open mind they keep, the more likely that they will open their hearts to other chapters, which is really important for the mutual selection process to be successful. Now, after they join the Panhellenic Association, we do have some expectations of their membership and also provide them lots of opportunities for personal growth and development. So, first and foremost, after they join on bid day, as I mentioned, they will become a new member of their chapter. They will go through a new member experience with their chapter, where they will learn more about the chapter, the community, expectations of them, and they will also participate in our Greek Step Up program. This is a bystander intervention program that our office partners with the Office of Student Wellness to collaborate on. Each chapter is required to do the Greek Step Up program. So the new member experience is a really exciting time because your student will meet a bunch of new sisters in her chapter and also will be able to meet other members of the Panhellenic community as well. Now, of course, once they become a new member of our community, they will be responsible for upholding our student code of conduct. The Panhellenic Association has bylaws. The chapter that she just joined will also have rules and expectations. And of course, all students on campus are required to uphold the student code of conduct and be aware of our Collins Law anti-hazing policies. Now, of course, we offer them quite a bit of support. We have 4 total full-time staff members here in fraternity and sorority life. They will also be supported by local chapter advisors and the national headquarters as well. Now, when they are a member of our community, we do have expectations of them. Of course, they are here for a reason. We want all students to get a degree, so they do need to prioritize their academics while in the fraternity and sorority community. Many chapters do have GPA requirements that a member needs to maintain in order to stay in good standing with the chapter. We also encourage them to get involved in other ways on campus, not just in the fraternity and sorority community. So if they are in the Farmer School of Business, for example, are there business organizations that they can be a part of? Do they have a passion area or a passion project where we can find a student organization to get them involved in? We love that they're involved in a Panhellenic chapter, but we want to make sure that our students are really well-rounded. We also expect them to engage in citizenship. So the Panhellenic Association has requirements around completing service hours. So all of our members of the Panhellenic Association are required to do 4 hours of service for each semester. Chapters also host philanthropy events on campus, and so there may also be requirements to attend those philanthropy events and help to raise money for the philanthropy. Now, I want to talk about chapter housing a little bit. As your student probably knows already, the sororities here on campus do not have sorority houses that are off campus. What we have instead is called a sorority living learning community here on campus. This provides a shared living experience for our second-year Panhellenic members because, as you know, Miami University does have a 2-year live-on requirement. So after primary recruitment bid day, we send out applications to live in the sorority LLC to everybody that just joined a chapter. It is expected that all sophomore sorority members live in the sorority LLC. However, if they have other options for housing, like living in a different LLC, living in the Honors College, for example, there is an opportunity to still live in those other options for them. They would just need to tell us by filling out that application and letting us know that they have other living plans. In the sorority LLC, your student would most likely be living with other members of her chapter. Each chapter is assigned a corridor or a hallway in one of the 5 buildings in Central Quad. She does have the opportunity to live with a member from a different chapter. If, say, her first-year roommate joins a different chapter than her, that is still an opportunity for her to do. This process really does start after bid day. And again, your student does need to complete the sorority LLC application in order to live in the sorority LLC. Lots more information will come out about that after primary recruitment. Now, the chapters also have what we call chapter suites. on campus. These are also located in Central Quad. I like to think of chapter suites as like the sorority living room. These are really nice shared spaces that often have couches, a TV, a dining area, a kitchenette. This allows for the chapter to gather in a place for sisterhood events, for meetings, just to study or just to hang out. So those are also opportunities that your student can engage in, not just when she's living in the sorority LLC, but all members of chapters do have access to the suite at all times. Now, we know that there are probably a lot of questions floating out there about the primary recruitment experience for the Panhellenic Association. I'm hopeful to go over some today. Should you have more questions, our email will be at the end of this presentation. You are always more than welcome to email us with any questions that you have. I will also say that we have quite a bit of resources on not only the Miami Fraternity and Sorority Life website, but also the Panhellenic Association website as well. So I do encourage you to check out both resources and hopefully get some of your questions answered that way. But here are some of the common questions that we do get here on campus. And again, this is not a whole list, but some of the questions that we get. So kind of talked about the first one, and I'm going to combine the first two. So is my student guaranteed a bid if she goes through the recruitment process, and how many people get released from recruitment every year? So as I mentioned, unfortunately, we do not guarantee bids to any potential new member that goes through the process. We, of course, want everyone that wants to be in a sorority to find their place here in the Panhellenic community. However, through the primary recruitment process, we cannot guarantee that a student will get a bid because of the mutual selection process that we utilize. Now, in terms of how many people get released from recruitment every year, this is a very, very small number in comparison to how many people actually register for the primary recruitment process. So to put it in perspective, about 1,100 potential new members started the recruitment process last year, meaning that they started welcome round and submitted their preferences after welcome round. Now, by the end of recruitment, only 9 potential new members were not asked back to any chapters throughout the primary recruitment process. And so again, in the grand scheme of things, that is a very small percentage. And those students do have an opportunity to join a chapter through informal recruitment later on, either that semester or in the fall semester. You can see all of our recruitment statistics on our Miami FSL website as well if you're curious about some of those more detailed statistics. Now, we get the question a lot about sophomores, and if your student is a sophomore, will that impact her chance of joining a chapter? And it does not. So we have quite a few sophomores go through the primary recruitment experience every year as well, and it does not hurt her chance of joining a chapter. So we encourage sophomores, juniors, even seniors, if they want to participate, they are more than welcome to participate in the process. So we really want to make sure that your student knows, even if she is a sophomore, she's not behind. She is more than welcome to go through the primary recruitment experience. And many sophomores join our chapters through the primary recruitment experience every year. We get a lot of questions about letters of recommendation and if those are required. We do not require letters of recommendation at all here at Miami. In fact, many of our chapters don't utilize letters of recommendation anymore either. If you are a member of a Panhellenic chapter and would like to write a letter of recommendation, you can do so. We just ask that you send it directly to the chapter. The Panhellenic Association will not accept letters of recommendation on behalf of a chapter, so they do need to be sent directly to the chapter. Listed on our website are ways that you can send letters of recommendation directly to our chapter, and you can find information about if chapters are utilizing those letters of recommendation. But as a good rule of thumb, they are not required here at Miami. What are the costs associated with membership? So I did mention that $75 registration fee, but unfortunately dues and fees don't end there. Your student will have required dues and fees after they join, and this does vary by chapter. So I do encourage you to visit our website. On our website, we give you exact numbers for what the chapters are currently charging for their newest and their active members. So if you're looking for real numbers, please check out our website. I will say though, usually the semester that your student joins and becomes a new member is likely the most expensive semester as a chapter member. The reason behind that is because oftentimes national headquarters have one-time fees for members, and those one-time fees are usually placed during the new member's first semester. So please check out our website for those actual numbers. During recruitment, the chapters will also display their dues and fees to the potential new members as well. That is a requirement that they do so. So your student can certainly ask about dues and fees during the primary recruitment process. Every chapter does collect dues and fees differently and has different payment plan methods. So if that's something that your student is worried about or wants to learn more about, please make sure that she is asking during the recruitment experience. Now, is the GPA requirement a hard cutoff and will other credits count? So yes, the GPA requirement is a hard cutoff. We have a no exception policy to that rule, unfortunately. So again, after the fall 2024 semester, if your student is a first year student, she has to have above a 2.5 in order to go through the primary recruitment process. We do not accept any AP credits or dual enrollment credits from high school to count towards that GPA eligibility. So that GPA has to come from the 12 credit hours that she will take as a full-time student here at Miami. She does have to have that 2.5 GPA requirement. Unfortunately, like I said, there are no exceptions to that rule. And many chapters do have a higher GPA requirement than a 2.5 as well that they should be aware of. Now, how can I support my student through the process? One of a few things to do. We know that the process can be somewhat stressful for students, especially when it occurs on the weekends and your student also has schoolwork to do. Maybe she's in other organizations already, or maybe she has a job. The best way that you can support your student is simply by asking how things are going. Talking to her about it, asking how she's feeling, helping her cope if she feels overwhelmed. Now, we do want this to experience to be their own, right? So making sure that they are making their own decisions when it comes to the chapters that they are prioritizing, that kind of stuff. But it is really important that you're having intentional conversations about how they're doing throughout the recruitment process. You know your student the best, but if you know or see warning signs that they are struggling or seem a little more stressed out than usual, please reach out to the Panhellenic Association. We would be more than happy to make sure that she gets connected to on-campus resources. Now, what happens if my student doesn't get invited back to a chapter? As I said, that's okay, and that might happen, and we know that can certainly be disappointing. If your student keeps an open mind throughout the recruitment process, it will make that disappointment just a little bit easier. But as I said, many potential new members will not get the maximum number of chapters back during recruitment, and they can still join a chapter at the end of recruitment, and that's okay. So it's all about just managing some of that disappointment and making sure that they are still keeping an open mind and a positive attitude throughout the recruitment process. You can certainly encourage them to talk to their RoGamma or recruitment counselor if they want to talk to another student, a peer, about that. The part of the beauty of having RoGammas and recruitment counselors is that they've been through this process too. So likely they can relate to what your student is going through. And then does my student have to go to every round of recruitment? Yes, she does, with some exceptions, of course. So she's here for a reason, to get a degree, like I said. And if she has any classes that conflict with primary recruitment, she can submit an absence request to us, and we will certainly excuse her from any Panhellenic recruitment events that overlap with her academics. She has to go to class. She has to go to those labs. Please make sure that she is not skipping any academic requirements to go through the recruitment experience. We will excuse her from recruitment to do that. However, your student is going to get a unique schedule. And what I mean by that is she'll get a unique schedule with chapters that she is being asked back to. Even if there's a chapter on her list that she might not have prioritized very high, she is required to go to that chapter. Again, we do this because you're going to be meeting different people in every round, most likely. And so it's important to go to every chapter that your student has on her schedule to continue to keep an open mind and to also make connections across Panhellenic as well. No matter what chapter she is joining, I can guarantee that your student is going to know somebody in a bunch of different chapters as well. So those are some of the common questions that we get. Like I said, I do encourage you to check out our website. We do have a parent-specific frequently asked questions section and an FAQ section specifically for students. So please feel free to check out our website if there were any questions that I did not get to today. And we want to thank you for tuning in today to this information session. Please feel free to contact us if you have any additional questions or if your student has any questions. My name is Alyssa, and the Panhellenic Association email is listed here, as well as the Fraternity and Sorority Life office email address as well. So please feel free to contact us should you have any additional questions. And again, I want to thank you for tuning in today, and I wish your student the best of luck throughout the primary recruitment experience.